All right, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in again for another Authors Impact Hub podcast. I am your host, Juanita Woodson. Super excited to be joined today. We have Mr. Clarence. He is going to be talking with us about his book, From Risk to Resilience. So I always have the authors to introduce themselves. So I always like to lead with this. I don't think that anyone who can say who we are better than ourselves. So before we dive in, can you briefly introduce yourself in 30 seconds? I know that's a short window of time to introduce who you are, but we're going to learn a little bit more about you in our Q&A. So in 30 seconds, and share the title of the book we'll be discussing today.
Thank you for having me. First, Juanita, it's a pleasure. My name is Clarence White. I wrote the book From Risk to Resilience, A Guide for Transforming School Culture. Uh, I am a resilience strategist, to put it in so many words. I hope that's 30 seconds. I think
All right. Okay.
I'll be real quick. I'll meet deadlines.
Okay, so we beat deadlines. All right, so we're gonna learn a little bit more about who you are as we get into our Q&A. So before we do that, what's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you outside of your professional work in public safety and leadership?
One thing is to be surprised. I'm really quiet. Contrary to what people think, I'm really quiet, laid back type of person. So give me time to think it. But yet still like to have fun. But yes, I'm rather reserved at times.
Okay. All right. So you're quiet, reserved. All right. So let's see if we can maybe get you to step outside of the quiet. We'll hear from you a little bit more today. This is your opportunity to talk as much as you want to on this podcast tonight. We're going to hear from you a lot more than tonight. So, what inspired you to write From Risk to Resilience, and why did this message feel necessary for today's schools?
Well, great question, and I'm glad you asked that. My answer is going to be probably compacted on several things. First of all, it was my dream to be in law enforcement and specifically to deal with juveniles. At an early age, I realized that that's what I wanted to do. I guess back in those time, in those ancient years ago, that children looked up to public safety, firemen, police officers, doctors, and all those sorts of things. So through my maturation of growing up, I stayed true to that dream, so to speak. But now to answer your question specifically, why writing this book? Because the day and times now that whereas safety has been put on the back burner,
Mm.
of dealing inside the school system, along with everything that's going on. Um, just recently, I was watching news just this few minutes ago. We had an incident at Brown University. We're talking about having teachers and staff members carry guns. So all those things um, triggered me to continue to do that. Now, the biggest thing, I have an inside track because I'm a school resource officer. I'm actually in a school. So one of my former supervisors, he went on to another department, but he wrote a book. And we are close friends. He's my frat brother. So he kind of challenged me to write a lesson plan about school safety.
Okay.
So I did one bit. I took it a step further. I wrote a book. So that was one of the challenges, along with the society, what's going on in society, and the demand and need. And I've seen so many things that go in school, some of the small things that needs to be corrected, so we could prevent some of the bigger things that what we see on the news now. So that kind of inspired me to write the book, so to speak.
Okay. All right. So, for the viewer, the listener who may not know what your book is about, can you tell us what readers can expect from picking up your book?
Well, the first thing and the first message that I want the reader and the listeners to understand is this: school safety is not a checklist. It's a culture. So it's not compliance. And a lot of times we get caught up in just checking the boxes when we're dealing with school safety, but it's not. It's much more than that. And so when we change the culture, we change behavior. So the biggest thing I could say, what my book is about, is real simple. From risk to resilience, it's a guide to help prevent crisis, build trust, and create a culture of safety before any danger starts.
Okay. So your book helps schools shift from reacting to crisis to building cultures of safety and trust. Why do you believe the mindset shift is so critical right now?
The mindset is critical because, as we know, we could always do physical security.
Mhm.
And when I mean that, we could put metal detectors, we could put armed guards or police officers, such as myself, in the schools. However, that's just the perimeter of school safety. But the biggest shift that we need, and this is another point in my book, is that we have to have psychological safety.
Mm,
Now, what I mean by that is this: when a person believes and they feel safe, then they will act accordingly. They will
that's
they'll respond in schools, and their behavior shifts as well. So that's why it was important for me to write the book so that we could build safe, support, and prepared schools. And that aspect, we shifting the the mindset of safety, the perception of safety, excuse me, from reactive to proactive.
okay. Okay. So in your experience, what are some common challenges schools face when trying to strengthen safety and organizational resilience?
The biggest challenge right now that I see is taking ownership. I'm not going to use the word buy-in anymore because it was brought to my attention a while ago that when we try to get people to buy in, we look at it as like a stock. You buy and you purchase the stock and you leave it alone. So we don't want that, and in the culture of safety. We want ownership. When your ownership is just like buying a house, that's yours. So you're going to make the necessary changes, the improvements. You're going to maintain it. So what my team and my book, what we do is we're trying to plant those seeds of a higher standard of shifting the perception of safety so that you can have ownership. And when it's that ownership, it's the small things that prevent the big things.
Okay. Okay. So your background spans from public safety, emergency management, and community leadership. So how did these experiences shape the strategies you share in the book?
Well, it's simple. We can't. Safety is not policy; it's people. And with my experience in law enforcement, public safety, emergency management, community leader, and doing things of that nature, it all revolves around people. So if it revolves around people, that means I need to have relationships. And relationships builds trust. And
Yes.
when we have a relationship and I have trust, then we have a connection. And when you have a connection, you have care. You have care, you do the necessary thing to be safe and help support the person next beside you. Especially in school systems, you have teams, and the teacher next door, you need to look out for your family member. We try to build that culture of that we're not co-workers, we're family. And the family members, you take care of your family.
Right, right. Absolutely. Especially when you're with someone's child, right? Absolutely.
Absolutely, you have to understand this. Throughout the day, my shift usually runs from 7:30 to 4:30, sometimes to 9 o'clock at night. Depends what other activities I go on. So majority of my time, I'm with those other people outside of my family. So I have to rely on them. Actually, my family relies on them, trust them with my life as well. So those things are important, and I've learned that over the years that you build those rapports and relationships, and to make sure that we all get home safely, and that is the biggest and the main goal at this particular time. And it's taxing with the days and with everything that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only imagine. So, what is one practical strategy from the book that educators or school leaders can implement immediately?
Uh, that's a great question. Uh, no, I think the most important strategy is the shifting of the mindset.
Okay.
It doesn't Safety doesn't take a lot of skill. It's a shifting mindset and leadership um, reinforcement support, I should say, uh, and that equals resilience. So what I mean in all that, what really just the small things, not when you go and have to run out to your car, don't leave the door cracked.
Mhm.
Yeah, because you're allowing somebody else to come in, an opportunity to come in. Some of those things like that. If we're dealing with fire drills, don't take it for granted that, oh, it's just a drill. I don't really have to do that. Uh, I did a fire drill just this week, and I didn't. We had less children in the building. Mostly it was the adults. It took me longer to get all the adults out the building than we did when we have a school full of kids.
Wow.
That is an example of we don't need a lot of skill. We just need ownership. That
Yeah.
because we have if you it's muscle memory. If you how you practice is going how you play, so to speak. So we have to make sure we do those things correctly. Again, it's the small things. Resilience equal mindset plus skill plus leadership alignment. That's the way
Yeah.
I look at it. So
Many listeners are authors or leaders themselves. So, what was the writing process like for you, and what did you learn about your own leadership while writing this book?
well, the process it was I, this was my first book, so I didn't have any guide. What's what I was responding to a challenge, uh, using my law enforcement instructors, knowledge and skill to write the outline, and then I was just using my experience in my education and what I want to see in that process. So that's the way it took me, and I went for it. I didn't um, I didn't do a lot of research on it because, in all honesty, I knew some of the guidelines, what the federal guidelines were, some of the state guidelines, because that's a common theme with me. So here's the thing. This is what I want to see. So I'm gonna write about this one, this some points that I have not seen that I want to speak on, like safe transportation, seeing parent participation inside the safety realm space. So those some of those things that we don't address. The common theme of mental health or mindset readiness, so to speak. Those things we don't give enough attention to. So those are things that's the process I want to make sure that I have alignment. I said the four pillars of my book was mental health, staff training, safe transportation, and parent participation. So I hone in on those four things as I went through the chapters to touch points on things. So my book is a mixture of public safety, emergency management, law enforcement, and social emotional learning, restorative practice, and positive behavior intervention system. So I married all those things together to um, to come up with my book. So that process, I guess that answers your question, so to speak. I know it's a lot, and I told
No.
you I was kind of quiet, but when I stop talking about stuff I'm passionate about, I get talkative.
Yes. I love that though. That is most of us, right? When it's something that we are passionate about, you can definitely tell. So is there anything, I know you said this is your first book, right? So is there anything that maybe challenged you or that you struggled with in the writing publishing process? You published the book, so how did you overcome that challenge? Because there may be someone who's listening who may be thinking about writing a book and you may be able to help them.
My suggestion and what I found that works for me, and now talk to other people, is write from your heart at first, then go back and let somebody else go back and do all that grammatical correction, and have thick skin when you allow somebody else to do that, because they're worse than teachers. They're gonna mark it up. And I was grateful. My neighbor, she's an editor, so I got a chance to allow her to look at, and she was kind to me. I put it that way. So that those two peak components of that, I would suggest right from your heart first, then go back and do your all your grammatical. Make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's. Then the biggest thing I found is finding the right cover to capture what you want your book to say without speaking.
Yes.
So those things, and the last thing was talking about yourself, giving yourself the kudos and realize how much you have accomplished that you take for granted. So those four things that was I would suggest that you, if you get past that right there, the content and the meat of your book is easy.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So how can listeners connect with you on social media or
Well,
learn more about your work?
you could contact with me on social media at Shad Khan Consulting on all social medias. That's CHICON Consulting. That's on YouTube, uh, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. What else? My website is shyconllc.com. You can contact me personally at info@shyconllc.com. And you could call me at 404-987-0686. Um,
All right.
and for the book specifically, at all social media at From Risk to Resilient.
All right. All right. So, and then where is your book From Risk to Resilience available for purchase?
At Amazon Books.
All right. And then we always end the show with this one last question, and that is, what impact do you want your book and your brand to leave on the world?
The impact I want my book and my brand to leave on the world is three things. And I usually start off with this. It's great to be me. How about you? I'm blessed to be a blessing. And the impact, I wanted to shift the perception of safety.
Okay. You have those three down. Okay. I love that. Well, this has been amazing, Mr. Clarence. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing from risk to resilience. What has been the most exciting part of your journey so far as an author?
Uh, the most important experience, I would say, learning that I'm an author and actually saying that. It tickles me because I never thought. Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you a story. Believe it or not, I wasn't good in English at all. Matter of fact, when I was in school in college at Florida A&M, I took English 4 times and
Okay.
passed. And back then, we had to take a class test to get to the upper level classes. The essay, I took the essay portion of something like an SAT for college 3 times. So to say that I'm now my author, that's impactful, and it's funny how God shift things in your life. But the other exciting thing that me writing this book has opened me up channels because from off this book I have created a learning module, LMS, or 8 module learning professional development for educators,
Mm,
and that also with that is 5 different industries that I want to tap into for as shifting the safety, the culture of safety. So this is the first book of a series of 5. So I'm
okay.
gonna touch this from risk to resilience in each industry. My next risk to resilience volume is going to be for non-government organization and government organization. Then I'm gonna touch on corporate and nonprofit, faith-based, and then lastly healthcare. And
Okay.
have professional developments for each one of those as well. So that's the exciting part because now I'll open up. Okay, I'm doing this. I'm enjoying it. Now let me see how far can I push it. So the excitement is seeing how the Lord has opened up doors and opportunities to push things off of this one piece of seed.
Yes, absolutely. All it takes is one yes, right?
All it takes is one yes, and I'll take yours if you don't want
Okay.
it.
And I'll take yours if you don't want it.
Oh, no, well, here's the thing. I'm gonna have so many yeses. I'm gonna give you one because that's part of my blessing, being a blessing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I tie that back in. So definitely that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking this time out and coming on and sharing. So, listeners, make sure that you go and grab a copy of From Risk to Resilience. Connect with Mr. Clarence on social media. Make sure when you listen to this episode that you share some takeaways, right? You share a takeaway in the comments, like, subscribe, and share. And be sure to tune in for the next Authors Impact Hub podcast episode. Thank you so much for taking this time out to talk with me about your book, Mr. Clarence. Until next time, because I know you have some more books coming, so we will definitely have to get you back on when the next book drops for sure.
Oh, I have another one coming that's totally off kilter. It's gonna call Follow the Leader.
Okay. So we will have you back on for the next one.
For
So
sure. Most definitely.
absolutely. Thank you so much. Until next time, take care.